So the camera shut off by itself and switched modes. We'll try this again. Evening YouTubers, Cheap Prepper here. Been thinking about a video to do for a while now. It's going to be titled Austere Living. It's really easy to sum it up, but there's a lot of people who won't know how to do it or will fail miserably at it. You can sum it up with bushcrafting, or basically living in the woods with no actual shelter, or long-term camping trip, rustic. If you're lucky, you will have a place to get out of the rain at least, or preferably some kind of shelter, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. So, if we have the absence of the rule of law, you're going to go from a lifestyle where you can sleep in your bed every night and be relatively safe and not have to worry about it too much, to where you're going to have someone on guard 24 hours a day. If not you, someone else. So, and that's daylight and nighttime. So, but during really bad situations, there are three things that you are extremely vulnerable. They are all personal. If you are lucky enough to have your significant other, if you two choose to have sex, very vulnerable, because your mind won't be on everything else. If you're showering or trying to take a horror bath, vulnerable, because even if you have your weapon, fighting naked, it just isn't a thing. Going to the bathroom, specifically pooping, and or for girls, if you don't have one of them stand-up pee tools, then when you got your pants down around your ankles, you're vulnerable. So, things that we take very much for granted. Running potable water. If you don't know what potable means, look it up. Food. So your ability to cook, prepare, or have food. Personal hygiene, kind of already covered that. And you're going to need 24-hour security. It's not an option, it's required. Simple things like washing clothes and haircuts will become a huge issue. It was always funny in Iraq. We had people saying you had to get a haircut, but there were no barbershops. So soldiers over there with clippers that clipped our hair. They weren't barbers, but they kept our hair off our ears. Washing clothes. If none of you have done it, I encourage you to get the pail that I demonstrated on another video, the washboard and a wringer, and actually wash your clothes by hand, and then see how long they take to dry without the wringer, and see how long they take to dry with the wringer. Like I said, the wringer is not a requirement, but it definitely shortens the drying time. So, things that we do right now that we consider chores, cooking, cleaning not so much, but cooking, washing clothes, personal hygiene, they all become mandatory things that are very hard to do, but that you have to do when you're not doing security. So, both times I was in a war zone, 720 days, boots on the ground in Iraq, 7 days a week you're doing something, so that includes physical training, that includes working on stuff, fixing stuff, that includes washing clothes, that includes, in some cases, cooking your own food, that includes, getting a haircut now and again. So, haircuts will become an issue. It'll become a problem. And for women, you may grow bodily hair that you used to shave. So, I know the women over there didn't shave their legs. I suspect they didn't even shave their pits, because, anyway, birth control will become a problem too. If you're on it, you'll probably stop at some point. If we run out of fuel, our circles of travel will drastically shrink. And most people in cities are not in good enough shape to walk far enough to get out of their cities. Just staying warm or cool becomes a huge issue. In Texas, we only have to worry about staying warm for about 3 months out of the year. But to kind of talk about that, I went hunting the second Tuesday this past Tuesday was the second time in a week. The first Tuesday we went a week and a half ago. Well, a week ago Tuesday, I got a 250-pound wild pig. It was a sow. So I actually pick up that meat tomorrow. But this past Tuesday, it wound up being more of a camping trip because it was raining. The weather predicted it was only supposed to be a 25%. It was only supposed to be intermittent showers. It was a downpour the whole time, and it was cold, like really cold. I'm pretty tough, but I'm getting older. Maybe I can't take the cold and I can't take the heat anymore. But it was cold enough that when you breathe, steam came out, and it was wet. So earlier I mentioned your ability to get out of rain. When it's cold and wet, it's really important that you have some kind of shelter that you can get into to get out of the cold and wet. Now, when I go hunting, I guess I do what's called glam camping, and my buddy sleeps in the back of his truck underneath the, call them canopies, but trucker shells. And then I have my van with a bed in the back of. So we were both really cold when we got back to the van, and if we had not had a dry place to get into, one, two, we both have space heaters that we can run off of our generators, so that made a huge difference. And then it would have been easy to get sick after that trip, and then still the jury's still out because I'm starting to get a cough. So, with your ability to stay warm, your ability to stay dry, your ability to not get sick are big things. So austere living is not going to be very much fun. The last major thing I'm going to talk about is your sleep cycles will change. My sleep cycle is still goofy from Iraq the first trip. So I can go long periods without any rest. I do get sleep every night, but some nights I don't get any rest. And it affects your health drastically, and it will affect your mood. So your body repairs itself when it sleeps, specifically when it gets rest. So in austere living, minor cuts or an injury goes from being like no big deal right now because we have access to medicine and everything. Excuse me. To being a huge deal because you don't have access to medicine. When I was in Iraq, both times I had to go see the doctors at least once, and it would have been something that could have got me in big problems. I tripped over some wire and hit the ground and scratched up my back real bad, and then that was the first trip. And the second trip, I have a condition where my jaw wants to lock shut and I can't open it, but then it gets to a point where it also hurts so bad I can't close it, so I can't chew. And then if you have teeth problems and you need to see a dentist, well, that's an issue. I'm hopefully going to get my new glasses. I'm going to go order them here pretty quick. But, everything that we do right now, there's, no big deal. We just go to the store. It ain't going to happen. Right now Texas has got news articles in several places where meat section's empty. People are starting to wake up to this being a problem. You got multiple sources on YouTube with not YouTube moderators or creators saying it, but they have interviews with CEOs from companies saying, the food shortage is not going to be temporary. It's going to be an extended temporary, and it maybe take months to recover. So hopefully you have stocked up. That's all I can say about that. But austere living, I hope to God we never do it. And the austere living I have experience with, I was on a forward operating base. We had security, so I never had to pull security, and we did walk around with weapons in case something happened. They weren't loaded at the time, but we had a magazine with rounds in it. Food was taken care of, and the water came from a tank on the roof but we could not drink it because it wasn't safe to drink. It came out of the Tigris or Euphrates River over there somewhere near Mosul, Iraq. So, you know, water treatment is an issue. Make sure you can do that. Make sure you can cook. I mean, there's so much you need to be preparing for. I just wanted to talk about austere living. I mean, going to the bathroom is going to be huge. Like, we have a septic tank, so as long as I can get access to water to fill up the tanks on the toilets, I can sit on porcelain. But if we run out of water, then we're not sitting on porcelain no more. We're all going in a bucket and going to bury the shit somewhere. Washing your hands becomes a problem. And if you eat food with your fingers and your hands are dirty, you're going to get sick. Dysentery, diarrhea, call it what you want. Personal hygiene is huge, because if you don't take care of your feet, and if you're a man and you don't take care of your groin area, you can get what we call crotch rots in the Army, where you get chafed, flaking, splitting, all kinds of problems down in that area, and you don't want none of that shit. So, baby wipes become your friend. I mean, I don't know what else to say, so Chief Prepper out. Y'all have a good night. Hopefully, I'm listening. Well, I was listening to Alaska Prepper. I'm going to turn him back on if he's still on, but he's doing a Friday night sit-and chat, so tomorrow morning he will be a civilian, as he puts it. So, anyway, Chief Prepper out.